What's up, everybody? Good afternoon on this lovely Thursday. We're about 4 hours away from the start of the Week 5 NFL action. Got a pretty decent game tonight. Streaming with the Hawks Nest tonight at 8 o'clock, shortly before that game is likely to end. So tune in. We're going to talk about the Lions game and the upcoming Giants game. But in this video, before we get to all that, I want to talk a little bit more about Geno Smith because there's a lot of different angles to talk about Geno Smith, obviously. Especially after the game that he just played, where he really did all he could to put the team on his back and lead them to an improbable win, what would have been a ridiculous win given how the defense was playing. We could talk about how his inaccurate throw percentage is at like 5%, whereas the average for a quarterback is 20%. We could talk about the records, both personal and franchise, that he set on Monday night. We could talk about all these different things that he's doing. But this video is not going to really be about that. Although, believe me, those videos will be coming if he continues to play like this, because there's so much to say about how good he is right now and how lucky we are to have him at the cost that he's at. But I want to revisit his contract that he signed about a year and a half ago with the Seattle Seahawks. So some of you might remember that Geno Smith's contract that he signed with the Seahawks, very team friendly, by the way. It was 3 years and $75 million with $15 million in escalators in each of the last 2 years. So an escalator is a little bit different from an incentive in that it doesn't count against the cap unless it's hit. And if it's hit, it will count against the next year's cap. So basically, in order to get a decent chunk of the money in that contract, he would have had to perform the way that he performed in 2022. And we all know that in 2023, statistically, he didn't. He regressed pretty heavily in numerical regards. I don't think he was any worse of a quarterback. I think his situation got worse, but nevertheless, he didn't hit any of his escalators. And the escalators were basically match your performance from 2022 in yards, touchdowns, completion percentage, and passer rating, and take 80% of the snaps and either win 10 games or make the playoffs. And by the way, in the modern NFL, it's super hard to win 10 games, not make the playoffs. So it's very unlikely that that would even come up as a circumstance. But the point is, you could win 9 games, get in, and still get that bonus. And the way it worked was each category was $2 million, and if he hit all 5 in 1 year, he would get an extra $5 million. So it was almost like a game show, right? Now, last year, we know he didn't get to any of these markers. His yards, touchdowns, completion percentage, passer rating were all down. The team did not win 10 games, did not make the playoffs. I think he had 80% of the snaps because he didn't miss enough time to lose out on that, but it was somewhat close-ish. Point is, he didn't get any of them. So the Seahawks actually saved a lot of money in that regard. And as recently as last week, I thought maybe they were going to luck out again in that category because of the way in which quarterback stats are being dragged down a little bit. It was actually really, really good in terms of the Seahawks that they were able to tie so much of Geno Smith's money to statistics, because QB statistics the last 2 years have been not very... First of all, it hasn't been very good. Like, we're not seeing quarterbacks throw 45 touchdowns in a season the way we used to. And we're not really seeing the quarterback stats even be indicative of anything, right? Like Patrick Mahomes, his quarterback stats last year were not that good, but he's still clearly the best quarterback in the league. And when it got down to it, he was the quarterback you wanted, and he was the quarterback who won the Super Bowl and won Super Bowl MVP. So it feels like a little bit of a different world right now because of the way defenses are playing, and it was good that we put so much of this contract in statistical incentives. But after that Lions game, we're currently on track to owe Geno Smith some extra money at the end of this year, or well, I should say next year, against the cap, because he'll hit his incentive escalator bonuses for 2024. So just to break it down here real quick, the incentive markers are 4,282 yards, 30 touchdowns, 69.76, let's call it, completion percentage, 100.9 passer rating, 80% play time, and 10 wins playoffs. And then the 5 million bonus. So let's take a look at his current level of production and his pace and whether or not he's on track to meet them. So, okay. Let's start with yards because, first of all, if any quarterback hits 5,000 yards in a season with the way defenses are playing right now and with the way things are going, that's amazing. And if it's Geno Smith that does it, that's miraculous. He is on pace to throw for 5,000 yards. Wow. By the way, that would lead the league. He's currently on pace to lead the league in passing yards. 5,023.5. And you can't throw for half a yard, so whatever, 5,024. That would be a lot more than 4,282. So that incentive is currently well on pace to get hit. Completion percentage. Yeah, on pace to hit that. He led the league in completion percentage 2 years ago. He's on pace to top his own mark. The only reason why he's not leading the league right now is Jaden Daniels. He's second behind Jaden. Jaden's playing a different sport right now. Jaden, I don't even know what to say about that. Jaden Daniels is playing like Tecmo Bowl or something. He's 10 points ahead of Geno, but Geno's second, and he's on pace to get that. And the final one, the snaps and wins, he's currently on pace to do that. He's currently on pace to play 100% of the snaps because he hasn't missed one yet. Now, granted, the way he's getting hit, maybe not, but mathematically, yeah, he's on pace. And we are mathematically on pace to win more than 10 games. If you want to just use math and say, okay, we won 3 games in the first month, we're probably going to average it out to 12. You get there. If you just want to look at the schedule and employ heuristics, this looks like a 10-win team all day. And in this division, the playoffs look likely because these teams aren't as good as we expected. So even if he doesn't get to 10 wins, if he gets to the playoffs, it's good. So that's 3 categories where it looks like Geno's going to hit the mark. Now, if you're just looking at things from the Seahawks perspective, as a Seahawks fan who doesn't want my salary cap to get wrecked next year, the saving grace is touchdowns and passer rating. And this is kind of Geno's rotten luck because his excellence so far this year is not getting reflected in touchdown passes or passer rating because we have 8 rushing touchdowns on the year and because Geno has 4 interceptions and like 3 of them are pretty fluky and 1 of them was in garbage time. Well, 2 of them were completely fluky. 1 was garbage time, and there was a 4th one that was okay. He made a pretty clear and obvious mistake there, but it's kind of rotten luck for him that we keep getting the ball into the red zone, and then Walker or Charbonnet takes it in. Geno himself has a rushing touchdown already this year. So if this were like a team that didn't have such good running backs, Geno would probably have double-digit touchdown passes already, and it wouldn't make anything better. Like, we wouldn't be better as an offense, because once you get down to the goal line, once you get down to the 10-yard line, who scores the touchdown is kind of immaterial. But he's kind of gotten the short end on the touchdown passes because we have really great running backs that are crossing the goal line. We have 4 passing touchdowns and 8 rushing touchdowns through 4 games. That's probably not exactly the way you would have drawn it up. And it's nice to see that Geno doesn't care, that he's not going to make a big deal out of that. He's not going to be like, oh, I need my touchdown so I can get my money. I mean, if that were the case, then we wouldn't be running the ball so much inside the 5-yard line. We wouldn't be running the ball in the red zone so much, you would think, right? So he's letting it happen. And that's kind of one of the saving graces here. We're not going to see 30 touchdowns unless he goes nuts. Like, he would need to go on a crazy run to get his pace up to where he would throw 30 touchdowns this year. He's currently on pace to throw 17. That's 1 a game, which Look, if we're gonna run for 2 touchdowns a game on average the rest of the way, I don't need him to throw more than 1 touchdown a game. But you can see how far that leaves him from where he needs to be to hit the incentive. And while I'm sure the interceptions are going to cool down eventually because these interceptions are very fluky, you can see that his passer rating is currently well off pace where he needs to be if he wants to hit that incentive marker. So while I'm sure the passer rating will go up just because the interceptions will fade, unless he can crank up the touchdowns a lot, I don't think he's going to get to this 100.9 passer rating. So that's 3 of 5 incentives he's currently on pace to hit, and 2 of 5 he's not on pace, which saves us 9 million, but that's a 6 million bonus. And I don't think that goes away if you extend him, which I've gone on record many times. That's what I want to do. I want to extend Geno. If we can do it now, great. If we have to wait till after the season because of the bonus money situation, so be it. But the way he's playing right now, I'm more than happy to give Geno what he wants. And I don't think this bonus money goes away just because we do that. So be prepared for a little extra ding to that salary cap space next year, which is already in short supply. And by the way, if he hits these markers, there's nothing you can do to stiff him, right? You can't cut him and say, oh, you don't get your bonus now. No, you still give him the bonus because he hit the markers. So if he does it, I mean, I'm not going to be upset about it because he performed and he deserves the money. Just be prepared for an end of season ding to next year's salary cap space, which is already tight. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming later. Let me know what you think about all this. And don't forget to account for it.